Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to QuintEdge. My name is Avijit Kumar Gupta. I am a faculty at QuintEdge, and today we will be discussing about a very important and a very interesting subject of ACCA, which is your financial reporting. This is the seventh paper of ACCA and it is covered in your skills level. Generally, whenever students enter into ACCA, they take 4-5 paper as exemptions, and this is the first paper that they generally attempt because this is somewhere related to accounting, and accounting is something which they have studied in your class 11th and 12th. So I'm guessing that you also are taking up FR as your first subject. Financial reporting is one of the very easy subjects if you have a good conceptual understanding of the subject. Okay, so please make sure that you stick to the end of this video, because I will be discussing each and everything about FR, and at the same time I will be giving you some very important points about FR which you will not find in any YouTube video. So please stick till the end for some important facts about FR. Okay. Now, what do you mean by FR? Financial reporting. If somebody asks you, what would you say? What is financial reporting? What would you say? I'm sure somebody, most of you would say that FR is accounting. So we will be preparing our accounting statements, accounting financial statements. Yes, but I would say that financial reporting is not just limited to preparing your books of accounts or preparing your financial statements. Yes, you will be preparing those financial statements, but you will be preparing financial statements first of all using your IFRS accounting standards. At the same time, you will be also preparing consolidated financial statements over here, and you will have to apply your conceptual principles when preparing the financial statements. At the same time, you should also know how to interpret the financial statements. Preparing financial statements is not sufficient. You should know how to interpret them. What is the balance sheet trying to convey to you or to convey to the users? What is the profit loss trying to convey? What is the gain ratio trying to convey? So basically you should know how to interpret. So ACCA wants to test all that over here. So please make sure that you have a good conceptual understanding of all the concepts of FR. Only then will you be able to interpret the financial statements. And interpreting is a very important topic because it will become, you will have a complete dedicated question on how to interpret the financial statements, and it will be somewhere around 12 to 20 marker question. Okay, so please make sure that you have a good conceptual understanding. Yes, so let's just dive into FR. So the FR, basically this course will provide a detailed coverage of financial reporting standards, all your IFRS accounting standards, which will be covered over here. You will also learn about consolidation, basically how do we consolidate a subsidiary and its parent company, and you will have practical application of the accounting principles. These all will be tested when we come to FR. Okay. Now, let's dive into what all will be covered in FR, and let's have a look at the chapters which will be covered in your FR syllabus. Okay. So students, there will be a total of 22 chapters. 22 chapters will be there in your FR. So that makes the syllabus very wide. Okay, you will have to study a lot, and the syllabus will get a little tiring to cover. Okay, so let's have a look at the names of the chapters. First of all, chapter number 1, which will be your published financial statements. This is I would say, a somewhat new chapter, because previously in this chapter students were taught IAS 1, International Accounting Standard 1, but this standard has now been replaced by IFRS 18. But actually, what will happen is IFRS 18 will be implemented by 2027, but ACC has started teaching about IFRS 18 to the students from now onwards. So we will be studying somewhat a new chapter, published financial statements, but you won't find much of a difference from as compared to what we were studying previously. So next is your chapter number 2, tangible non-current assets. All the fixed assets which are tangible. Tangible means something which you can feel, which you can touch. So all the accounting for all the fixed assets which are tangible, we will cover over here in a chapter number 2. Next, if you can see, we have chapter number 3, which is your intangible assets. So all the assets which are not touchable, you cannot touch them, you cannot feel them, intangible assets will be covered over here. Next is chapter number 4, impairment of assets. Impairment of assets is nothing but depreciation on the assets, but depreciation which has been charged earlier as compared to what we anticipated the depreciation would be charged to. Okay, so I'm not going into much detail. We will be looking in this standard in much detail when we when you go through the course. So chapter number 4 is basically nothing but depreciation, but depreciation using a at a faster rate. Okay. Next is your chapter number 5, non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations. If you see, the name of the standard is the name of the chapter is very big, but the standard is very small. It is, I mean, it goes by the number IFRS 5, non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations. So basically what you will learn over here is, when you want to sell off a non-current asset, how do you account for that? Or if you have a department or a division or a subsidiary which you want to sell off, how do you discontinue that operation in your books of accounts? How do you report that? You will be learning over that in this chapter. Next, there are two chapters. If you see chapter number 6 and chapter number 7, these are some theoretical chapters: conceptual framework and regulatory framework, conceptual and regulatory framework, and conceptual framework measurement. These two chapters are theoretical chapters. You will find some objective based questions over here based on these chapters. These two chapters will carry much more weightage when it comes to your professional level examination, where you will be giving a paper SBR, strategic business reporting. These two chapters will be covered in much detail in your SBR levels. But over here as well, you will find some objective based questions. These are basically theory questions, theory chapters, and they're basically just the accounting principles based on which how you prepare your financial statements. Okay. Next, you have chapter number 8, which is your other standards. So some small standards have been compiled into one chapter. So I'm not covering getting into the details of the chapters. Next is chapter number 5, chapter number 9 actually, foreign currency. So let us suppose your company exports goods to countries outside India, or you import goods from outside India, or you have a subsidiary company outside India, or you have set up a department or a division outside India. So how do you account for the transactions which you do in foreign currency? Those transactions, how to account for those transactions, you will basically learn in chapter number 9. Next is chapter number 10, revenue. So if you see that there are a lot of companies, I mean, selling lot of variety of goods and variety of services. So every company will record its revenue, will record its sales. So how do you record sales? When do you record sales? At what amount do you record sales? Should you record sales or not? Everything will be covered in chapter number 10, revenue. Okay. Next, you have chapter number 11, which is your leases. Leases basically means taking anything on rent. So if you take anything on rent, how do you account for that? So the person who's giving the asset on rent and the person who's taking the asset on rent. So how do you account for those rental transactions? We will cover over here in chapter 11, leases. Next, we have chapter number 12, financial assets and financial liabilities. We can collectively call them financial instruments. This is a very important chapter because you have not studied anything like this before. Whatever we will be covering chapter number 12 is something totally new to you. Okay, so I'll just give an example. If you have learned, I mean, if you go back to your class 12th or your BCom, what you've learned is that preference share capital is a capital and you show it as a capital under the head equity. Yes, under share capital, you write preference share capital. Yes. But when it comes to IFRS accounting standards, they say that preference share capital is a liability. Okay, preference share capital is a liability. I'm just giving an example of what we will be studying over here. So this is a totally new chapter for you. So I'm sure you will find it interesting. So chapter number 12 is very important in terms of marks as well. It will come for a good 6, 7, 8 marks. Next, we have chapter number 13, which is your taxation. Taxation, basically, over what we will be studying over here is that if you prepare your books as per accounts, if you prepare your books as per accounting standards, and if you prepare your books as per taxation authorities, the books will be prepared totally differently. Okay, so basically the profit which you calculate as per accounting standards and the profit which is calculated by the tax authorities are different. Now what will happen is taxation authorities will charge you tax on the basis of their profit. They will ignore whatever is your profit. They will simply calculate your profit on their own basis. So you will be paying taxes on their calculated profit. Now your profit will be different, their profit will be different, your tax will be different, and their tax will be different. So how do we reconcile them? How do we reconcile the taxation charged by accounting and tax authorities is something which we will cover in this chapter. Next is your chapter number 14, earnings per share. This is a very easy chapter. You will be studying about two earnings per share, basically your basic earning per share and diluted earning per share. It's nothing but what is the earnings that the company has earned for one equity share. Okay. Next we have chapter number 15, IAS 37 and IAS 10. So these are standards where you will be learning about how to prepare. I mean, when do you create provision? When do you create a contingent liability? When do you create a contingent asset? What do you do of transactions which are happening after the balance sheet date? What do you do about transactions which are happening before the balance sheet date? So this is something which we will be covering over here in chapter number 15. Next, chapter number 16 is your statement of cash flows, which is nothing but your cash flow statement. Cash flow statement is something which you have covered in your class 12th. Do you remember? In your class 12th, you've learned how to prepare cash flow statement. Yes, operating activities, investing activities, financing activities. Yes, so it is more or less the same. You might find one or two adjustments here and there, basically differing from what you've studied in your class 12, but more or less this chapter is similar to what you've learned in your class 12, so you won't find it difficult. Now, from chapter number 17 to chapter number 21, you can see that there are 5 chapters. You can call them 5 chapters, or I simply call them as one unit. Okay, so what is this unit? This unit is your consolidation of accounts. Okay, the unit is consolidation of accounts. So basically what you will learn is that if there is a company and there are multiple subsidiary companies and of which it has control, how does the holding company or the parent company consolidate the financial statements of a subsidiary, associate company, joint venture company? This is something which we will be covering over here. Okay, what is a parent company, what is a subsidiary company is something which we will discuss in much detail when you learn, go through the chapters. But these 5 chapters carry a lot of weightage. You will get a 20-mark question out of these 5 chapters combined. Okay, so what all chapters are there? Principles of consolidated financial statements. Basically, you will be covering the basics of consolidation. Next, you will be learning about how to prepare consolidated balance sheet. Next, consolidated P&L. You will also learn about how to account for your associate companies. There are different companies, subsidiary companies and associate companies. So how do you account for associate companies? Next, how do you sell off a subsidiary or an associate company? How do you account for that? You will learn over here. Okay. And last is your interpretation of financial statements. If you remember, I started off by saying that under this FR course, what you will learn is that how do you interpret your financial statements? You know how to prepare them, but you should also know how to interpret them. What are they trying to convey? So that is something which you will be learning at the end of the syllabus, chapter number 22. So this chapter is very important because you will get either a 12-mark question or a direct 20-mark question based on this chapter. Okay, so this chapter is something which will be covered in the end because preparing the financial statements is something which you can do only after you learn how to account for all these transactions. Okay, so if you don't know how to account for all these transactions, you cannot prepare the financial statements and you cannot interpret them. So this is something which has to be done at the end of the entire FR course. Okay, so if you can see, this is the entire list of chapters which you will be covering in your FR course. Clear? Now let's move on. Next question the students that generally ask us is, how do you pass? How do you pass your FR course? Okay. So, first of all, you will focus on the big chapters. Obviously, if you want to clear your papers, you should focus on the big chapters. Big chapters means chapters which will come, for a greater number of marks. Okay. So, what are those chapters? First is your consolidation, the unit consolidation, which I discussed that there are 5 chapters in that. Next is your interpretation. Interpretation, again the last chapter, chapter number 22, and other chapters which are your revenue, leases, financial instruments, non-current assets, and IAS 1, or you can even say IFRS 18, the new standard which has been implemented. Okay, so these are some of the most important chapters which you should cover before attempting your exam. But does that mean that we can ignore the other chapters? No, we cannot, because if we ignore those, then you will not be able to cover this important chapter, interpretation. So if you, basically this is an important chapter, but this is only relevant if you cover the previous chapters before this also. Okay, now uh, basically, how do you practice? The next thing which you have to do is you have to prioritize question practice. Teachers keep on repeatedly telling the students, please practice. But students, what they feel is, yes, it's a duty of the teachers to keep saying this. Okay, I mean, we will practice on our own, we will practice at our own whims and wishes. But I am telling you, if you do not practice, you will not clear your papers, or especially this paper, FR paper, because it is a completely mostly practical paper. You should know how to calculate all the figures, you should know how to apply your IFRS accounting standards, and you should know how to prepare your balance sheet, profit loss. So if you do not have practice, you will not be able to utilize your time, manage your time effectively in the exam. So please practice a lot. So practice something which you have to do compulsorily. Now one thing that you have to do is you have to practice on Excel and Word only, and use the practice platform. So I'm sure you must have heard of practice platform. If you have not heard of practice platform, please let us know and we will make a separate video on how to use the practice platform for you. Okay. Now see, the paper that you're going to give is a computer based exam. That is what is called as a CBE exam, computer based exam. Yes. Now, if you practice on computer, on a laptop, then that will be good for you, because if you practice on, on a notebook, what will happen is you will develop your handwriting speed. You will not develop your typing speed. What you want in the exam is a good typing speed. You should know where all are the keys, what all should be pressed, how do you arrive at the figures. So what happens is students generally opt for practicing on their notebooks because that is what they're used to. But at the end, what happens is when they go in the examination center and they start thinking that yes, I will be able to do it on my computer, they find it very difficult to actually attempt the paper on a computer because they have not practiced well enough on the laptop. So I would suggest, please keep your notebooks aside. If you want to keep notebooks, just make small notes for your references, but whenever you practice, please practice on a laptop. Next, practice your questions only on Word and Excel. And for Word and Excel, please don't open your MS Word and MS Excel. Use the ACCA practice platform. Over there, you will get spreadsheets, or spreadsheet basically your Excel, and the document, Word document that you will be getting. So practice over there. Why should we practice over there, and why should we not practice on MS Word and MS Excel? What's wrong with MS Word? Are you, anti Microsoft? No, I'm not anti Microsoft. Why am I suggesting that you practice on the practice platform is because when you actually go into your examination center, what you will find is that the spreadsheet, basically your Excel file or the Word document that will appear in the examination, will be slightly different from MS Word and MS Excel. Okay, MS Word and MS Excel have a lot of functionalities which are available to you, but all those features, all those functions which MS Word and MS Excel offers will not be available on the actual exam day. Only limited formulas will work on Excel. Only limited functionalities will be available to you on MS, I mean the Word document. So it's better to practice only those items which will be actually be available to you on the exam day. Yes, so please don't use MS Word and MS Excel. Practice all your questions on the spreadsheet or the Word document which is available on the ACCA practice platform. Clear? Next, follow the 50-50 rule. You should follow the 50-50 rule. What is the 50-50 rule? First, you have to, 50% work you have to do is you have to clear your concepts. Please make it a point that, rote learning will not take you anywhere. In ACCA, rote learning will not take you anywhere. If you feel that, I will mug up the formulas, I will mug up the questions, then I will certainly clear the paper. You are that definitely going to fail in that case. Conceptual clarity is something that they will test over here. If you feel, if somebody is under the impression that I will practice 500 questions and out of those 500 questions 50 will come, no, not at all. I'm clearly telling you, 500 questions you practice, you will not see any question which is similar to those 500 questions. So then why are we practicing? You're practicing because 500 questions that you practice, they will give you a good understanding of how the questions will come in the examinations. So whatever type of questions will come in the exam, you will be easily able to attempt those questions. Don't expect similar questions in the examinations. This is not your school, this is not your BCom examination that you will get the same questions that you have been given in the past. Okay, entirely new questions will come, but if you practice a lot of questions, you will know how to calculate the figures, you will know how to prepare your balance sheet profit loss. So at the end, you will be able to solve any type of question in the examination. Yes, so first of all is 50% conceptual clarity and 50% is your exam technique. Please focus on preparing your balance sheet profit loss and whatever is required as in the question as per the basically ACCA's requirements. See, if they're expecting you to answer in a particular format, if they're expecting you to answer in a give certain working notes. So if you're not giving those working notes, if you're not preparing balance sheet profit loss in a certain format, they will obviously deduct marks. Yes, so conceptual understanding is okay, practicing is okay, but at the same time presenting the answer in a proper way is also very important. So please make sure that the answers that you give are clear, and whatever is the requirement of the question and whatever is AC is expecting out of you, please make sure to answer in that manner. Okay, so I'll just give an example. Your paper will be divided into three sections, section A, B and C. So in section C, they expect you to prepare the correct marks are awarded. Marks will be awarded if you prepare the correct format. If you're preparing balance sheet profit loss, so you first of all they will give you marks for the correct format, then they will give you marks for the proper labels as in assets, non-current assets, current assets, all those. Yes, and for preparing clear working notes. So this is something that they are expecting of you in section C. So please make sure that you answer properly so that the examiner does not get any opportunity to deduct marks. Clear? Next, what should be your practice strategy? How should you practice? So basically, students, I would suggest that you should at least practice 3 times. You should at least practice 3 times, because when you practice a lot, you will be able to answer any type of question that will come in the examination. So in the first round of practice, what should you do? You should practice questions topic wise. You should practice questions topic wise. For example, chapter wise, simply saying, take it, if you see that we have 22 chapters, so practice all the questions chapter wise. For all the for chapter number 1, practice all the questions. Next, chapter number 2, all the questions. So this way, please practice chapter wise questions in your first round. In the second round, you should prepare I mean, you should practice a mixed set of questions. Mixed set of question means 4 or 5 chapters. If you've covered, then start practicing a mixed set of questions where a question is asking about the 4 or 5 chapters that you've covered in one question. Okay, so start practicing your mixed set of question when you're practicing in the round 2, and in the third round, practice a full mock exam under timed conditions. So if you do not give a practice paper under timed conditions, then you will not be able to manage your time properly. So it's better that you give a proper exam, a 3-hour exam, which will be actually taken the on the exam day. Please practice it at your home first. See if you're able to manage your time properly. Where is it that you're wasting your time? In section A, section B, or section C? Which section should you opt first? So please practice under timed conditions, because that will help you a lot. Correct? So this is the practice strategy that you have to do. Practice 3 times with past papers to ensure comprehensive preparation and familiarity with the exam patterns. Clear? Okay. Next. This is something which generally is not, students are not aware of. So I thought I might as well discuss this as well. What will be the paper pattern? Okay, this video will tell you everything. Please stick to the end of the video. There's something important which is coming in the later part of the video. Please stick to the end. I'm telling you, don't go anywhere. Okay, now what is the paper pattern? First of all, like I discussed, there will be 3 sections: section A, B, and C. Okay. Now, section A and B will be basically your objective questions, and section C will be your basically subjective questions. Okay, so objective questions, the section A and B are of 60 marks, and section C is of 40 marks. Okay, so how is the paper pattern? First of all, in section A, you will get 15 questions, and one question will be of 2 marks each, giving you a total of 30 marks. Okay, section A will have 15 questions of 2 marks each. So section A becomes of 30 marks. Next is your section B, which will be your case study based questions. Case study based questions, if you want to know, just go back to your class 12th, or even to go back to your school. Simply, you must have given your English papers. Yes, in English papers, what happened was, you were supposed to, there was English paper was divided into again sections: section A, B, C, and D. Yes, so what was section A? Section A was passage reading. Yes, so what did you do? You had a passage, and based on that passage you had certain questions which you had to answer. Correct? Similarly, over here you will be given a case study, and you have to read that case study. Based on that case study, you have to answer 5 questions. Okay, you will get one case study. Based on that case study, you have to solve 5 questions. So how many case studies will be there? There will be a total of 3 case studies with 5 questions each. So 3 case study, 5 questions per case study, making the total number of questions to be 15. Yes. So 3 case studies, 5 questions. So the total question will be 15 questions. Again, one question will be of 2 marks each. So the total marks will be 30. Clear? And lastly, we have our section C, which is nothing but your subjective questions. We call it constructed response questions. You will get only 2 questions, but one question will be of 20 marks each. 20 marks each. Your ears should start ringing when you hear this. 20 marks ka ek question. One question of 20 marks. If you remember, if you go back to your class 12th, the maximum amount of marks that you have attempted a question was 5 marks, 6 marks. Yes, if you remember your balance, if you, start going back to class 12th, you prepared dissolution, a partnership firm. Yes, you prepared a question over there. You prepared, you've done attempted questions for share capital. Yes, so these were 6 marker questions. And I mean, just think about the working notes that you used to prepare for a 6 marker question. Now imagine the amount of working notes, the amount of calculation that you have to do for a 20 marker question. Yes, so this is the question basically where you will be making use of your MS Word and MS Excel. Okay, basically Word and Excel, which will be tested over here. All these questions, section A and section B, you will not get any Excel file or I mean Word file in your examination. You will simply get those questions and you have to attempt them on a rough paper, and basically you make your calculation on the rough paper and attempt the question. Okay, so 2 questions of 20 marks each makes the total 40 marks. So this is how your 100 marker paper will be given. Okay. Now, since these two sections are objective questions, the question arises, will we get negative marking? Will we be marked negatively? So the answer is no. There is no negative marking over here. So if you are uncertain of an answer, so you can take a hunch sometimes, but we should not, be reliant on taking hunches. Rather than we should be focused on practicing a lot, so that we are able to solve the answers, give the proper answers with confidence. Yes, so section, I mean, just this is what I've written over here. 60% is objective with no negative marking, and 40% paper is a subjective paper. Next, let's have a look at the types of objective questions. We've discussed that section A and B will be what? Objective based questions. What type of objective based questions will come in the examinations? So, I mean, if I ask you, what is the general perception that you have about objective questions, is that you will get only MCQ based questions. Yes, where there will be one question, 4 options, and out of the 4 options, one option will be correct. Yes, you are true to something, I mean, to some extent, but there will be other types of objective questions which will be asked in the examination. So what are those questions? Let's have a look. Types of objective questions. So first of all, multiple choice questions where only one answer is correct. You guessed it right. Now let's look at the other options, other questions. You will get multiple response questions. Multiple response questions means basically you will be given 5, 6, 7 options. I mean, then let's take six options. You will be given 6 options, and out of these 6 options, more than one option will be correct. So for example, 2, 3 options will be correct. So you have to choose what all options given the question are correct. Okay. So I'm just taking an example. So let us suppose there are 6 options, A, B, C, D, E and F. Okay. Now let us suppose option number B is correct, option number D is correct, option number E is correct. Okay. Now since this is an objective mark question, you will get 2 marks. Okay. This is a 2-marker question. Now let us suppose let us suppose you choose option number B and option number D as the correct options. Okay, you choose option number B and option number D as the correct options, but according to you, E was not correct, so you did not choose E. Now, this is a 2-marker question. How many marks will you get? How many marks will you get out of these two marks? Because out of the 3 options, you have marked 2 as correct. So according to you, 1 marker, 1 marks or 1.5 marks should be allotted. Yes, but you will get a big 0, because you have not chosen all the correct answers. You have not chosen all the correct answers, so you will get a 0. Okay. Now let us suppose you choose B, D, E and F. B, D, E and F as the correct answers. Now, will you get marks, full marks? You will get a complete 0 again. You will not get marks. Sir, why will we not get marks? We've corrected, you said you have not chosen all the right answers. Now we have chosen all the right answers. What happened? I mean, it's okay, we chose a wrong answer, but the correct answers were chosen now. So if that is the case, let's choose all the options in that case. Yes, that, I mean, if I go by your logic that, sir, we have chosen the right answers, so in that case what you do is choose all the right answers. I mean, tick everything, say that everything is right. So what will happen is you will choose all the right options, but you will also choose the wrong options. It does not work like that. Yes, so you've chosen B, D and E, but you have also chosen F, so you will not get marks, you will get a complete zero. So when will you get marks? You will get marks only when you choose B, D and E and nothing else. Only when you've chosen all and only the correct answers, only then will you get the full marks. Otherwise you will not get full marks. Clear? Next is your fill in the blank question. So fill in the blank questions are very easy. So how do you answer the fill in the blank questions? Basically, you will get a statement and there will be a blank. Again, let us suppose there will be a statement and there will be a blank. Okay, so either you'll have to type your answer in these boxes, or you will get a drop down button. You will get a button over here. Click on this button, okay, and you will get your options which you have to choose from. So you have to choose from there. Okay, next is your match the following questions. Match the following questions is something which you have done in your school. Yes, you get two columns and you have to choose which column, I mean what I mean basically list of A, I mean list A, what all items match from the list B. Yes, so if you remember, I mean just I'm taking you back to school. List A and there is a list B. You have to match the items of list A with B. So let us suppose this is A, B, C, D, and over here it is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yes. Now how do you match? How do you match? I mean, how did you match in school? So let us suppose the answer for first A was 4. Okay, so this is how you would create lines. For B it is 1, or C it is 3, D it is 4. This is how you would match in your class, in your school. But that will not work over here. How do you write over here? I mean, how will you match the following in your paper, FR paper? So you will have list A and list B, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay. In between list A and list B, there will be a gap. There will be a gap. Now let us suppose the answer for A is 4. For list A, the answer is fourth option of list B. So what you will do is, whatever is written over here, you will click it. There will be a gap over here, and what you will do is, you will click on it and retain your click and drag it and place it over here. That is how you will answer your match the following questions. Okay, so for example, option B, the answer is 1 from list B. So click on this, retain your click, drag and drop it over here, and this will match your question. Okay, so this is how you will be answering your match the following questions. Clear? Some unique way to solve the questions? Yes. And last is your direct questions. Direct questions basically where you will be asked to write the amount. For example, they are asking you what is the amount of depreciation for the year. So you have to calculate the amount of depreciation and you will simply write the amount whatever is your answer. So these are the direct questions which you will be given. So these 5 types of questions, 5 types of objective questions will be asked in the examinations. So I'm sure you must have seen that with how much detail I'm making this video. So if you're liking this video, please hit a like, because this will motivate us to keep making such videos again and again. Okay, is the video over? No, one more important thing is coming up. So please stick, please stick. This is not over. Now, some of the important things for answering the questions, let me discuss them over here, and at the end I will show it to you. Otherwise, you'll be distracted. Now, the last topic, important topic which I want to cover over here is what will happen is in the direct questions, in the whenever they're asking you to answer a direct question, what will happen is, let us suppose they're asking you to calculate depreciation. They're asking you to calculate depreciation, but I mean, just next to the question, it will be given answer in 3 zeros. Answer in 3 zeros. Okay, so what happens is, let us suppose the amount of depreciation that you have arrived at is 678,000. This is the answer that you have arrived at. What students do is they ignore this line and they simply write 678,000 in the text box given in the answer, in the question. But that will give you 0 marks. Why? Because they're asking you to answer in 3 zeros. So what you will do is, whatever is the figure that you have arrived at, you simply divide it by 1000. And what do you get? You get 678. So in the text box, you will write 678 as your answer. You will not write 678,000. Clear? Okay. Now, one more type of question will come as a direct question. They will ask you to answer in the nearest 3 zeros. So what do they mean? Let us suppose the answer that you're arriving at is 758 640. Okay, 758 640. This is your answer. Correct? Now they're asking you to answer in the nearest 3 zeros. So what will you do? You will divide it by 1000. Yes. What will be your answer? 758.64. Yes. So you will write 758.64? No. You will not write 758.64. They are asking you to answer in the nearest 3 zeros. So what will you do? You will round it off to 759. Okay. You will round it off to the nearest number 759. Or for example, if your answer was 738.41, so you will round it off to 738. Okay. So I hope you're getting it. When they're asking you to answer in the 3 zeros, you can simply write the figures out of decimal as well. But if they're asking you to answer in the nearest 3 zeros, you should round it off to the next whole number. Clear? And one last thing that the students ask me is, sir, my answer is 678.45. Let us suppose my answer is this, and the answer which ACCA is arriving at is, let us suppose, 678.52. I mean, just taking an example, your answer is 678.45, ACCA's answer is 678.52. Now the students ask me, will ACCA deduct marks? So ACCA will not deduct marks for this, because they know these are rounding off errors. These can happen easily. So they will ignore these errors. So you will get marks even if you write this. Clear? So now this is something which I have mentioned over here. What are the important points? If the question asks you, if the question asks you to answer in 3 zeros, then your answer should be divided by 1000. Okay. Next, if they ask you to answer in the nearest 3 zeros, then you should round it off. Example, 396.149 will become 396. 478.68 will become 479. And last, if your answer is, for example, 604.38 and ACCA's answer is 604.35, then marks will not be deducted. Clear? So I hope you're finding the video very interesting, because these are some things which are not discussed in any YouTube videos which you will find over the, all the basically whenever you scroll through YouTube. Okay, so I hope you've liked this video. If you want to connect with us, if you have any doubts, please feel free to connect with us, or you want to take our classes, you can enroll for our classes from our website www.quintedge.com. Okay, if you have any doubts, please write in the comment section. We will definitely answer those questions. If you want to personally connect with us, you can visit our website, and over there you will get our contact numbers, and our counselors will be very happy to answer all your queries. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, please share with us with your friends, and do subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos like this. Thank you so much. Bye bye.